Lord, my God. When I, in awesome wonder, consider all the world thy hands have made.
What is his greatest legacy? It's, taking his, gospel music and being able to intermix it with jazz and blues, and then also take it back out and use it, back in the church setting, as a way to really, edify God.
During the last 30 years of his life that he had got with God, instead of staying playing jazz music and R&B. I just wanted everybody to know that he changed his life and was totally for God. That's the only thing that he wanted his family and everybody around him to know. That he was a God-fearing man. That he was.
Oh, how great thou art.
Not everybody knows about, Reverend McClarty. Is that important? Let historians be the judge of that. What's the impact that he left, and what's the legacy he left? And sometimes the legacy you leave doesn't necessarily have your name imprinted on it, but it's still a legacy nonetheless.
This is a story about an amazing musician who started and ended his artistic journey in a native church, but not before blazing a melodic path in the secular worlds of jazz and rhythm and blues, leaving countless admirers and an induction into the Jazz Hall of Fame in his wake.
With shouts of acclamation, and he'll take me home. Oh, what joy to fill my heart. Then I shall bow, glory to God, in humble adoration. And there I proclaim, oh my God, how great thou art. Yes, Lord, yeah, Lord, and sing my soul.
I think that was well deserved for him to have that award. He traveled so long, doing music as he knew it. And I think he was just waiting for that honor to come to him. I think he was a little nervous getting the award. Once he got there, I think he wanted to play, and show everybody his talent. But he enjoyed it very much.
The Reverend Matthew H. McClarty Sr. was enshrined in the Oklahoma Jazz Hall of Fame in the summer of 1997, a little more than 2 years before he would pass away in his hometown of Ada. Born into a musical family in 1932, Matthew was the 12th of 13 talented sons, but none of his brothers would eclipse Matt's trajectory.
I think music was his life most time. He just sat around telling me stories about his brother have his guitar hanging on the wall most of the time, and he'd run up and get up on the chair and play it. And I think that's mostly all he did all his life, just play.
And they were nailing him to the cross. They put nails in his hands. They put nails in his feet. I can imagine how she felt when they pierced him in the side that morning. Oh, glory to God.
He was definitely best known for a very joyful spirit, and a very natural music ability. Here's a fellow who, when he was 8 years old, was winning talent contests where, he was up against other adults, I believe at age 13, barely a teenager, and he's winning, a talent contest at Langston University. I think what he's best known for is, being proud of his talent and being able to be almost a natural musician. Even when he was not allowed to, take up guitar and kind of had to play it on the sly and, have his brother help him, he was, picking up and learning it. I think he, embodies what a lot of Oklahomans are proud of, and it's a natural, innate ability or a connection to music, which is a spiritual connection. Sometimes I think the closest you get spiritually to God is through music, and I think he really was able to demonstrate that.
Young Matthew was never bashful and by all accounts loved to share his talent with other people. He was a natural-born performer and seemed to always find audiences, or rather they found him.
I didn't know how well known he was until I got older. A lot of people tell me how they used to come to the club every time wherever he played at, try to make it to sing. They always say, they always tell me, we used to hear your dad play all the time. Are you Matt's son? They kind of look at me, and I guess they see a resemblance. And they said, your dad used to play all the time around here in Ada. We used to listen to him all the time. I get that quite a bit.
As a teenager, Matthew blazed a path in other ways and never let his race prevent him from finding new and larger audiences. His involvement with the local radio station is an excellent example of that.
You look at the fact that here's a fellow who was the first black radio announcer on KADA. How did that come about? How did that happen? Because it wasn't something that was normal, for a fellow, particularly a young person, to break into radio, which at the time was the number one. TV wasn't the way people got their news or entertainment. So how does a fellow who is not only young break into, an established business, but a fellow who's also black? And I think you really then get into the crux of, what we like to say is, we create unity through music. And you have no better way of pulling people together. You have no better way of truly being, merit-based than music. So, because it helps wash away a lot of preconceived notions, prejudice, and so forth, and really focuses on the talent. And that's also where I think the spirituality of music comes through.
Matthew's singing ability created more opportunities for him as a young man. Still a teenager, he joined several gospel music touring bands, including the well-known Pilgrim Travelers.
1, 3, 1, 2, 3.
He also performed with the Nightingale Jubilee Singers of Mississippi. He also formed a quartet with 3 of his cousins, the Gospel Tornadoes of Oklahoma City. His gospel roots, coupled with a taste of success, formed a gateway into the secular music realms of jazz and rhythm and blues.
That's really, the interesting kind of question to pull apart, because, where does gospel end and jazz and blues begin? Ray Charles, is a good example of someone who was able to take so many pieces of pieces of music, particularly church music, and was heavily criticized for it. But it really makes you think, are you only supposed to, use gospel music, sing it, enjoy it, and, kind of feel it only in a church setting? Or do you take it all over the world and do you, blend it and move it into other parts of our culture? Jesus was not somebody who was restricted to just hanging out in the church. And I think the same goes for music.
In 1952, just 20 years old, Matthew left the gospel music circuit and joined Tony Weiss and the Blue Notes, and later Wendell and the Dreamers, both secular R&B bands that toured extensively throughout the region. It would be a significant shift from the church-based music on which he had been raised, and impacted his lifestyle as well. But his love for music, along with the skills he needed to execute it at a high performance level, only grew. And despite the social climate of pre-Civil Rights Act America, Matthew's talent continued to find new audiences.
You had race records. Didn't mean that, other folks didn't buy the records, but there was definitely, a segregation of, how the music was published, how it was put out, how it was ranked. But it didn't matter when it came to people who wanted that music. And that's how you got some of these crossover artists who were selling, records, and people in New York, in the music industry were scratching their heads saying, who's that?
When I was young, he used to play for like the Tony Wise band here in Ada, and sometimes he'd take us along, but we had to sit out in the car, and I used to sit out and listen at him inside. He used to start out playing the blues, and yeah, I used to sit outside quite a bit, listen at him play.
He did travel with Tony Wise and the Blue Notes, and all throughout Texas and Oklahoma, and was able to kind of take that gospel infusion and be able to put it into a jazz and blues setting.
It wouldn't be long, however, until Matthew returned to his roots and to the church where he felt most comfortable. His experience on the road made him a keener musician, and he wrapped the jazz, soul, and rhythm and blues music he played in nightclubs across the region into the gospel and praise music he played in church on Sundays in Ada. It was a move that also brought him closer to his family.
Yeah, when I was younger, he used to set us on the piano stool. He'd show us some stuff, and then later on in life, we just kind of caught on, to what he was playing. Well, he showed us the beginning of the basic notes and things.
There's many talented folks. I mean, you hear stories about Reverend McClarty and how he was a natural and how he was able to pick things up just by listening to the radio. But he still had to practice. And it comes from all sectors. A lot of it arises in some of your most talented areas in Oklahoma, and your most talented folks can be found in church. And that's where a lot of the spark for music is initiated.
But during the early part of his years, like I said, he was playing like jazz music and rhythm and blues. And I think the later part of his years, when he got into gospel, he started living the life that he was singing about, And I think that's how he probably changed, during the years that he was playing.
Just fooling yourself. My Lord. Oh, you can't go to church, shout all day Sunday, and go out in the streets and rain.
Matthew formed a gospel band with his sons Mike and Matthew Jr., and the trio traveled around sharing their music to appreciative audiences. These travels also included a special performance at the nation's capital, where their gospel stylings were a huge hit.
We had a chance to go to Washington, D.C., and we was playing gospel music there. We sang in a Folk Life Festival up in Washington, D.C.
To be God's children, you must be born again. It's all right to clap your hands. I said, come on, enjoy yourself. But God's children, my Lord. But God's children, my Lord.
When he played the Smithsonian Folk Life Festival in 1982, which was a part of Oklahoma's 75th Diamond Jubilee. And by far, of all the things that we did and showcased, at the Smithsonian Festival, he got the biggest reviews and the rave reviews.
While the Reverend Matthew McClarty may not have been as well known as other artists, his unique blend of jazz, rhythm and blues, and gospel made an indelible impression on every person who heard it. His enshrinement in the Oklahoma Jazz Hall of Fame confirms that. He never had a lot of wealth or fame, but his talent touched many lives, making his hometown of Ada and his home state very proud.
It's doing the best with what you got and making it amazing. And that's the beauty of Oklahoma, is that creative spirit, that drive. It helps us display how we're a crossroads of so many cultures, people, and it helps demonstrate how good idea and talent can go a long, long way.
I think music is a universal language. I think through music, everybody could, come to their own conclusion. Like gospel music, they hear us singing or playing a gospel song, they maybe get energized, through music, or, maybe music change their lives.
And go out in the streets and raise hell on Monday, no. to be God's children, you must be born again, my Lord.